When you're faced with a situation like Gitmo that doesn't have a black and white answer, it's so much easier to be like, wow, the world's complicated. I need to find some dogma to hold on to.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do that, you know? And it's like, I'm gonna cling to that, and my life's a lot easier if I just think it's this way.
Yeah.
And I think very much that's what the character was wanting to do.
All she wants is to be like, they did 9/11?
Yeah.
Please, if I could believe that, my life would just be golden. It's exactly what I want to be able to get behind. But and that's why she signs up for it too. It just takes the thinking out of it completely. And then that's what I really liked about the movie initially, was that you have someone who's just trying to turn off, and then there's just this slow, like steady, tingling vitality. You're just like, I'm actually not dead, and oh my God, I can't accept this.
You chose not to show waterboarding. Is that in your mind the same idea? It's the reverse of showing them as guilty, because it's too easy. If you show waterboarding, it all of a sudden shifts the focus and makes this an appalling. It's appalling.
You know why? Because then the film becomes very. My fear was that the film would become manipulative, and I think from the beginning we didn't want to make a film that's trying to manipulate the audience, and more importantly, that isn't propaganda. There's so much propaganda about Guantanamo Bay. If you show someone getting waterboarded, like, that's propaganda. Like, it's making a very obvious statement that this is crazy.
Weird difference between those two people, I think. She wants to lose herself. She wants to take the individual out of it completely, so she doesn't have to look inward, so she doesn't have to acknowledge things about herself. She doesn't have to exist. She just wants to be a part of a larger piece. And I hadn't worked in a good 2 years, and I wanted something that scared me. I wanted something that I could really jump into head first, and yeah, that was it. What
fascinated me was that there's a handful of these guys down there, and they're just sitting there. It's like, in the beginning, that's why in the beginning we have this montage to allude to the fact that in the beginning, when they first showed up there, it was the Wild West. Yeah. People were getting beat, it's crazy, and it would be wrong to not at least, allude to that. But what happens after all that? What happens when everything's just kind of chill and relaxed, and they're just sitting there, and you're in this kind of like, Kafka, like, no exit type of situation where you're just stuck with yourself, That's the story that I think was more interesting to me, because that's the side you don't expect to see. It's just a, fairly objective depiction of what we learned about the place. It's like the Stanford prison experiments, where if you put someone in the role of a jailer and a prisoner, like, they will take on these roles, It will just come about by the nature of that position that they're in. So, yeah, it's a guy and a girl. You expect there to be this, this sexual undertone, but it doesn't exist in this. It's not about that. It's bigger than that. They're so lonely. They're both, and it's not. I don't think it's not just because they're isolated and because they see each other every day. I think it would be really interesting to take these two characters and imagine them in a different circumstance. I think they would both be just sort of as closed off, right, to a certain extent, and sometimes the most precious solace you can find is in someone who, or is just from a place that is unexpected and sort of, I don't want to say inappropriate, because now this whole like romantic thing has made it weird, but it's not, but just not like. But the way I feel about it is, and this is why I like the setup, is that it's not romantic love. It is that, it's not agape. I don't know what the word is. It's that love of humanity. You know what I mean? It's something that transcends, like, it's not about sex or
But it's
romance
a human connection.
Yeah, it's about seeing someone else and saying, I love you as a human being.